Peace, peace, Facebook. What's cracking, y'all? It's Jupiter Day. We got some super cloudy, dark clouds out here. We're in the middle of a really active monsoon season. It's Jupiter Day, it's Thursday, and I wanted to come on and transplant some plants with you really quick. I'm out here on the patio and talk a little bit about astrology in the garden. And not so much about the book, although you could definitely find everything I'm going to talk about in the book. But I want to talk about astrology in the garden that I'm in right now and in the garden of our lives, and talk about the circle of life and defining the circle and a few things. So peace, peace, y'all. Happy Jupiter Day. It's a day of expansion. Jupiter is a planet of Sagittarius, or, most specifically, but also the original planet or original ruler of Pisces, they say as well. But it is a planet about expansion and taking concepts and ideas and even good luck and fortune and energy and expanding it far beyond where it was before. So I have some moringa seeds. I have 4 little moringa tree seeds here that have sprouted on the patio. And I tend to make videos in response. Honestly, a lot of my content is in response to how to like the energy of the online world or of my personal life, kind of things that I hear people talking about consistently. And I want to create content that literally is like expanding what I'm currently in. So I've been hearing a lot of folks questioning astrology, and many different posts over the last few weeks, and friends in my personal life and all over. Folks question astrology. They wonder, is it real? They wonder its validity. And I'm not really here to tell you anything but what I see in my truth, right? And from working with plants for years and being in gardens and spending a lot of time observing what is growing on, I've come to be able to find astrology and the Zodiac in the plants themselves. And so I think it's cool, being raised in a non-Christian home by an atheist, woman who did not make me believe in a particular creation story. It's really, really helpful, because when I naturally see the stories of creation in the garden and in plants, it's easy for me to share it and to be able to analyze it without critiquing it, without having to find the validity of astrology. What I want to say here. I had something I wanted to say in terms of that, but it gives me a more open mind, and I'm able to see a consistency of stories amongst everything. And that's really what Astrology in the Garden, the book, is about. I don't want to talk about the book too much today, but this is kind of like the story that I put into the book. So it really is the same thing. I know everybody's not going to read the book, though, and a lot of people might not even be interested in, sitting down and reading books now. Somebody said, are you going to turn this into a podcast? Because we don't read these days. So I have to make sure that while the book is out and it's doing its thing, and you can purchase it and you can read it, I'm also, breaking the book down here in person for people as well, so that so I don't miss any steps, and that I continue to do my work, which is bridge. I am a bridge between many different worlds. And I think that's really what I wanted to say in terms of my upbringing, right? Is peace, Natalie. Karma, peace, peace. Zarin, peace, peace. Hello, y'all. Zarin or Zarin, you have not missed anything. I'm just going live, sweetheart. Natalie, yes, you will love the book. Karma, you'll love the book. It's a really powerful book. I'm going to be talking about part 2 today, and kind of breaking down what part 2 is all about, which is the main inspiration of the book. And it's just such a powerful story, and I have to make sure I continue to tell it to people, because it just builds so many bridges, and that's what I am here to do. So, and I'm going to be planting up some moringa. So I have a few moringa sprouts here. I have 4 moringa new trees that I just planted in this little guy here. Moringa seeds are the moringa plant is a very, very powerful plant, very, very powerful seed. It has so much life force in it, And once these grow up and mature, you can actually take just a branch of your moringa seed off and push it into any moist dirt, and a whole new plant will grow. Karma, I'm talking about Astrology in the Garden, my most recent book. I released it May. Hey, hummingbird. Hey, friend. I released it May 26th. It's called Astrology in the Garden. It's available at seehere7.com or on Amazon. And yeah, it's a book that connects the above and the below. It is a book that takes my experience with plants in the garden and connects it to the sky. And if you hang out Karma, you will learn why, because I'm getting ready to tell the real story as to where the book came from, really. But it's called Astrology in the Garden, love. So also going to be replanting some moringa seeds. I've got 10 or 11 going right now. And again, very vigorous plant, easy to grow, especially in the desert. They actually love really hot, dry, really just hot temperatures. It is a desert plant. The leaves are edible. I could actually already start eating these leaves right now. They are full of all of the things that you need, all of the minerals, just everything, all the good stuff that, I'm not too into all the specific names and the scientific names. For me, they personally, take away from the impact of what's going on. Oh, Zara, and your screen's blank. I don't know. I'm here though. Karma, I'll check it out. I have a book club and an author and herbalist. Hey, that's dope. I actually really want to, Karma, get the book, get like a book club list filled out for the book. So I'm gonna try to remember to message you, to connect with you directly. I've never been a part of a book club, but I'd love for this book to be a part of a book club and and to create something that supports book clubs naturally. So I'm gonna try to remember to tune in with you. All right, so moringa seeds, retransplanting these. I'm trying to say I want to get them into a much bigger pot here because they're trees. These are actually 4 baby trees, and they will grow up into really tall, quick growing trees. And they won't get as big as they could if they were in dirt on land somewhere. But I have a fig tree out here right now, and I have an apple tree. So we wanted to get some moringa going as well. And I want to tell you a story. It is story time Thursday, expansion day. So, how do I want to start this? I want to focus more on the story than astrology, but I'm going to preface it with this. Life is a circle, the circle of life, and it moves us all. Life is a circle. And we know that if we watch life, we see what life actually does, right? Life grows up. Let's see, do I have a brand new baby sprout? Oh, let's go look at these moringas over here really quick. See these new baby moringas sprouting up right here. There's one there. There's one there. There's actually 6 over here. You can see one here. These brand new seeds have just sprouted, and they are growing up from the earth. They'll grow all the way up for however long their personal pathway is. In that growth, they have their own genetic, imprint as to what they're supposed to do. So they sprout up from the earth. They grow up towards the heavens, towards the sky, into the heavens, into the sky. And then they slowly or quickly, depending on, again, its personal genetic pathway, and it's the life path of that plant. If we're talking about redwoods, this is a, maybe thousands of year process or circle of life. If you're talking about, basil plants, this basil has been out here and it's been trying to deal with these temperatures and heat, but basil is an annual. It puts out seeds for the next generation because it doesn't really plan on living too long in general, unless it's in a really perfect climate with a lot of moisture and warmth and not too much warmth. Much shorter circle of life though. But life springs out of the earth. and it begins a journey of a circle of life. It's going to grow up towards the sun and reach its climax, the maximum of its life. It's the greatest, the tallest height, or its climax, its apex. And then slowly, again, or quickly, it will then begin to return back to the earth. With trees, it's a yearly cycle, right? The tree itself grows up and then it releases its leaves every year back down to the earth. Those leaves fall down to the earth, they cover the earth, and that actually produces the environment so that the next generation can grow up. But it's a circle of life, and everything on this earth is coming up from the earth, growing up towards the sky, and then falls back down to the earth to be regenerated, either within its own life path or for the next generation. And astrology is actually a really easy thing to understand or to comprehend, because it is a story, not the story. It is a story of this circle of life. And when we, I think when we're raised in particular cultures that have made astrology like, something from some make-believe, devil or witchcraft, or something that you're supposed to stay away from, Christianity especially, although the Bible is literally an astrological book. Baby Jesus was found by stars, so the Bible is actually astrology. When you grow up in cultures that teach you that this is the truth, and that this story of Jesus and God and creation, that's the truth, and there's no other truth, and everything else is wrong or bad, it's kind of hard to open your mind up to seeing how everything actually is the same and one and is connected. JT Money! Hi, Gina. Hi, my friend. I love you. I miss you. Some people do things as wrong, or is evil, or is, devil work or witchcraft. And unfortunately, a lot of people are missing out on a really beautiful story of creation, actual creation, real life physical creation that takes place all the time, every day. And I think that's why I've been seeing a lot of posts. That's what I'm responding to today. I think that's why I've been seeing a lot of posts about people questioning astrology, because ultimately Christianity does, has been and has ruled Western culture for a long time. And, growing up in an atheist home, I've always been on the outskirts. Eric, what's up, brother? Happy Thursday. I've always been on the outskirts of it, and have always been able to watch Christians and Christianity and kind of like how people, yeah, brother, I'm down with it. I'm down to be on for sure. On how, Christian culture has been so judgmental of other people. And so it's in the culture, it's in the words, it's in social media, it's in, even healthy relationships, it's in patriarchy and feminism and everything. Like, people are really trying to like break free from this stronghold, that this faith has had, this story of the circle of life has had on people for a long time. I just don't have that stronghold. I haven't been choked out by the Bible. And for some people, they might think I'm going to hell because of that. Okay. I think I'm doing pretty good, though. That's not really where I want to go. I don't want to talk so much about Christianity, but I think that's why I've been seeing a lot of people questioning why astrology? What is astrology? That's not real. You shouldn't be worshiping this. You shouldn't be doing that. Well, listen to this story. Please listen to this story. Tell a friend this story. You don't even have to listen to it. We're actually also putting it into a children's book. I'm writing a poem about this story, and it's going to go into a children's book, because this story matters and can really open your mind up and expand you into new realms that you've never maybe visited before. So, the story. We're going to go back. Right now we're in Cancer season. We are in the height of summer. So we're going to go back into April a little bit, and we're going to talk about those little brand new seeds I just showed you all over there. Astrology is the first calendar. Word is born. I would say the first calendar is the environment itself, but astrology is the first definition of the first calendar for sure. Our ancient ancestors all sat outside underneath the sky. They watched the plants, they watched the bugs, they watched life, observed life, and they defined what they saw. And that's all of the faiths of time. That's every book of time is observations within as well as external of extremely wise people, and even just people who committed the attention and time to studying the environment and their documentation of it. I'm actually going to be launching a new class, a new online virtual class, probably in the fall. And one of the assignments in the class is going to be to define a circle. And that's what I'm getting ready to do with you all right now. I'm going to give you one definition of a circle, and it's tropical astrology. And it's really, really beautiful, and it's based on the sun and the movement of the sun and the ecliptic that the sun moves over our earth every day. And I highly recommend, don't just write astrology off because somebody else told you it's wrong, or there's no way that that could be real, or whatever, because you're missing out, man, on, even if you don't ever align with this story, you're missing out. So let's go back to April, and I'm gonna start taking these little moringa seeds out and seeing what, let's see if I can pull this down, what we have in here, what kind of roots have grown. So we're gonna go to, ooh, there's mushrooms in here though. I almost wanna wait. Don't forget there's mushrooms in here, guys. I'm gonna come back and talk about the mycelium. That's Gemini season. April. Oh wow, look at these roots already. Ooh, look at the treasures we find under here so quickly. Just from pulling the plant out, look at what I found. So the moringa seeds are doing really well. The roots have grown very, very quickly. Again, these plants are super growers. But here we see a little mushroom under here. This mushroom is growing from mycelium, which is the actual plant or bean of mushroom. This mushroom, look at that, is growing from up underneath here. No light, no access to light or sun. But the mycelium under it is, I'm just gonna put you over there, friend. The mycelium in this dirt is growing. Actually, you can see, I wonder if you guys can see this white stuff, this white kind of hairy stuff right here. I don't know if y'all can really see that. Not focused, maybe. You see the little hairs. That's mycelium, and that is what where mushrooms come from. Mushrooms actually grow from a bean that is a white. We're gonna actually look at it in here too. Let me do this really quick. Put you back in there really quick. You kind of can tell in this dirt, if you can see kind of like a grayish tint to this dirt, it's actually full of mycelium. This dirt is only for outdoor use because however they grew this compost is full of mycelium. See this little white specks? Come on, focus camera. You gonna focus for me? That whiteness on there is mycelium. It's an organism that grows under the earth and actually connects the whole underground earth together, and it grows mushrooms. So, but we're not there yet. That's Gemini season. All right, so moringa seeds supposedly do not like to be transplanted also, so I'm kind of doing something that supposedly not, but I have a feeling that they're going to be fine. I'm going to separate out all 4 of these plants, and I'm going to put them into this bucket evenly so that we can grow some trees. So let's go to April. Let's go to the beginning of spring. The beginning of spring, we've just wrapped up winter time, and the plants are recognizing a change. There is a change taking place in spring. And the change is that the sun is returning. Right now in the northern hemisphere, we're all experiencing the sun leaving. The sun is actually disappearing from our parts of the world and is headed to the northern hemisphere, the southern hemisphere. And because of that, we are experiencing changes. I don't know if you guys are already feeling it yet, but literally, you know, the sun is not overhead as often or as much each night and each morning. It's coming up later. It's going down earlier. And the energy is shifting, you know. These are considered the dog days of summer, especially in the next month where it's the hottest times. But the sun is moving on. It's time for its journey to continue and no longer be with us. In springtime, on the other end, after winter time, moving into spring, so the equinox on that side, the sun has been spending all of its time has been summer in the southern hemisphere, and now it starts to move back and come to the northern hemisphere, and it brings with it spring. The energy of spring is the springing forth of new life. That's why they call it spring, actually. Life is going to spring back. And so in the garden, we actually start to find a lot of little plants like this. So we find brand new baby plants. I have a little few over there, but I'm going to just stick with what we got here. Springing out of the earth. They are, first part of it is this little rounded top of a plant. You know, it sends its little, its brand new body out of the seed, pokes it through the dirt, and it begins to sense its environment to check out, is it okay to grow? Is there enough sun? Is it warm enough? If the seed does not feel that very first initial puncturing through the dirt, if it doesn't feel that the environment is healthy enough, if it doesn't feel like the environment is healthy enough, it'll actually die. If you know, it's too cold or it's a snowstorm or something, the seed will either pause and wait or die and return back to the earth and regenerate. But if it feels like it's a good environment to grow in, the seed is going to begin its life. And this is the beginning of the Zodiac wheel, and this is the season or the sign of Aries. Aries begins this spring year and is in alignment with the energy frequency of the springtime. So that little bitty poking up of the plant is being fueled by a fire from underneath the earth. There is a fire in the earth, a literal energetic frequency that is in alignment with fire and that creative force, right? We know that there's fire in the earth. We see magma. If you've been to an island or you've been around many volcanoes or even just seen it on Discovery Channel, you know that there is actual fire under the earth. This is the womb, and in the womb it is totally dark and yet totally alive with light and with fire. And this fire is getting activated around spring because the fire above the earth, the fire of the sky, has returned, and it is signaling to everyone on the ground, including under the earth, to Mother Earth and her fire within, that it is time to grow again. And so Aries, the first sign of the zodiac, gets this signal, is this signal. People who are born during this time of the year are the signal of spring. They walk and talk and live and think and breathe like the energy of spring. And the energy of spring is vibrant and bright green and very focused on what these plants are doing, right? So I've just planted these in, and this little tree has no other focus right now other than to grow up big and strong, focusing on its own self and become a big tree. That's its sole mission in life. And that is what we find during the season of Aries. We can actually go through, and that's what I'm going to do kind of quickly here with you. I'm going to move through it quick, but through the entire year, we can see the zodiac signs and the energetic imprints and frequencies of the signs of the zodiac in the plants every single month throughout the entire year. And the reason why is because we're watching a circle of life. Astrology is one way that we can define a circle of life. And when we use the plants to actually define that, again, bridges are built. You realize astrology actually isn't scary or witchcraft or lunacy or crazy talk or a psychological illness or somebody who doesn't know how to deal with real life. Astrology is actually a language of the environment, and you might not be interested in knowing the languages of the environment, but I am. So spring forth. Spring comes, the new plants burst through the dirt with a fever, with a fervor for new life. And because the sun, we're in the equinox, right? So these are the days where the sun is equal. You have the equal amount of light of daytime and nighttime. But it's still moist and it's still kind of cool. You know, my birthday is March 10th, so 10 days before spring. And there have not been too many birthdays where I had like blue skies and warm weather. Although last year we did, in 2021 I did. But almost every year throughout my whole life, it's been cloudy and kind of cool and usually raining. Because this beginning part of spring, things aren't guaranteed. Nice weather is not a guarantee. You know, frost is not necessarily over. You can still get frost through the first, you know, really almost 2 parts of spring, the first 2/3 of spring. There aren't many bugs out. Most of the bugs have not been reborn yet. And, you know, maybe flies have started hatching, but there's not a whole lot of competition in terms of pathogens because of the cold of winter. Obviously, this is a story told where winter is cold. You know, we lived in Hawaii for a year and never used a blanket, so in the tropics, this is a different story. But they have their own circle of life there, and there's a definition for that too. So, not too much competition with pathogens, not too much to worry about with pathogens. Guys, your plants, your house plants and stuff, make sure you're filtering the water, especially if you're in the desert. Do not put your tap water on your plants, you guys. We shouldn't be putting it on ourselves or drinking it or, you know, doing much of it all with ourselves. But those minerals in that water will build up and they will hurt your plants. I've actually had a couple plants really suffer from my filter not being new enough. Yay, we have 4 moringa trees going. Actually 10, I have 6 more over there. But not too many pathogens to compete with, but we're not sure about the weather and the environment. We're not really sure what's gonna happen yet and when the sun is going to bring the real ease of spring to us. It's probably gonna be closer to Taurus season. And so in Aries season, you have energy that has to be self-focused. If we had an Aries season, if we had Aries energy that was not focused on self, we're kind of looking at a disastrous year, honestly. I come from an Aries mother, and from Aries, I have a lot of Mars energy in me. And most people don't get why and how Aries energy and why Aries tend to be so selfish and self-centered and self-serving. But it's literally written into their code. And when we look at the garden for an example of this, we see it in the plants. In the first part of spring, in the month from middle of March to middle of April, if we are not 100% focused on self, we might mess up and miss the very delicate and easy to miss signs of the environment and grow or sprout when it's not actually a good time to do it yet. We might invest too much time and energy into others around us and not become the best, strongest version of ourselves. Foundation, and that foundation is strong enough to support an entire circle, a whole year. So the Aries has a very particular job, and its job is to focus on itself, growing its own pathway, 100% dedicated to being the best version of itself. Now, I know a lot of Aries, and I'm not going to say that all Aries are able to do that successfully, but their inner wiring is to focus on their own personal growth so that they can accomplish what they're here to do, which is start the whole plant cycle. these plants here are little baby Aries, and each one of them sprung, oh, what did I just do? Each one of them sprung forth with a tenacity to grow up, and they're not gonna stop doing it. They can't stop doing it, because if they didn't stop their super diligent, focused energy of growing up and being my own being and putting everything into being, to growing and being me, we won't get trees. We wouldn't have trees. We wouldn't have adult trees. They wouldn't have dedicated enough energy in the beginning of their lives to grow a long, healthy lifestyle or life cycle. So Aries begins the spring in alignment with the plants of the garden, and they spring forth with a bright green and very strong, driven, passionate energy, fueled by the fire of the womb of the earth, to grow up. And they continue to do that. We move then into the second part of spring, into Taurus season. And you know, at this time, the sun is, every day, the sun is spending a little bit more time over the earth, a little bit more time, a little bit more time, a little bit more time. Every day that it spends more time over the earth, the environment becomes more stable. It becomes easier to recognize, okay, so the sun is back. Frost is probably not going to be happening. Life is looking good. So in this second part of spring, the plants all decide to commit to, all right, you guys, so the sun is here. We are losing more moisture during this time, right? So because the sun is overhead more and more of the moisture of spring is being evaporated. Okay, evaporation is really, really important in the garden and in life. Water is life. And so without water, everybody is concerned, you know, communities in the desert. The main conversation here is water, because if we don't have water, you don't have life. So the garden is aware of that, and the beings in the garden is aware of that. In Aries season, there wasn't a worry about water. There was really no worry about sustainability or anything other than growing, because there was enough of everything. By the second portion of spring, you have plants that are becoming aware, wait a minute, things are drying up, things are changing, there's more sun, I'm feeling it, I'm feeling good. You know what, there's impending changes coming. This is Taurus. This is the Taurus season, or the season of Taurus. And Taurans are intuitively aware that a change is going to come, that this super abundance of sun and moisture, like the right amount of both really is what we have in Taurus season, the perfect amount of sun and the perfect amount of moisture, this is not going to last forever. And because it's not going to last forever, Taurus becomes hyper-focused on creating sustainability, grounded, homey type energy, and actually seeds, flowers, babies. This is the season and the time of reproduction. This is the time of sex. When you go into the garden, everybody's having sex in the garden during this time. The sun again is spending more time over, so the temperatures continue to warm up. You can get some really nice, beautiful, warm days in the middle of, end of April and beginning of May. Much more bugs have hatched by this time. The bugs that were the eggs that were planted in the dirt and on plants and everywhere from last season before the winter, those bugs are going to be starting hatching now. They're going to start to hatch. We're going to have a lot more bees active, and just in general, we're going to have, for Natalie, we got a way to go for Pisces, but it is kind of the best one. Thanks for hanging though. That's dope that you want to hang out with me there. I'm going to try to speed it up some too. But I had to lay that foundation, right? I had to make sure that we knew how we were starting with Aries. Nai's in the background. What's up, Bears? Are you trying to come out, or are you asking me a question? Huh?
I was saying it's 4.
I know.
We still need to do my hair.
So can I finish this and then? You can say hi, sure. Well, you can actually speak through the thing right there. But the longer you guys talk to me, the longer I am going to be on here. We got to go do parkour. So, all right, they see. Losing track. bugs are hatching. There's more activity in the garden. And these bugs have one job, right? These bugs' job is the same as the plant's job. Their job is to go get food to grow up big so they can lay eggs so that their next generation can be ready for the next Taurus season. So it's a time of abundance. There is a lot of everything. Plants get this signal, they get this cue, and they start to set flowers. So Taurus season is a season of beautiful, beautiful things, so much abundance of flowers. I remember being in my food forest garden in Portland one year and counting like 30 plus different flowers during the season of Taurus. This might have been actually around the time when I really started to see the Zodiac in the garden as well. It's like, wow, so it's Taurus season, and I know Taurans love flowers and colors and beautiful things. And well, look at the garden. Like, the garden is reflective of Taurus during this time. It looks beautiful during the season of Taurus. And so that's what the plants are focused on. They're focused on setting their flowers because all the pollinators have been born and have been reborn, are hatched, and they're moving around looking for the things that the flowers grow so that they can feed themselves, feed their larvae, get new bugs for next year. And so the plant responds because the plant also uses those flowers or those bugs to pollinate its flowers so that it can set the seeds of life for also next year. Life is all about regeneration. There is never a time, ever a time, when you should ever worry about life stopping. It won't stop. Not life. It is set in its genetic code, in its basic code to regenerate through circles, through the circle of life. The circle of life rises and falls. And in that fall season, in that fall comes back the information so that it can rise once again. So the bugs and the plants in Taurus season during this time in the garden, they know this, and they get busy to making really beautiful flowers that are so attractive for everyone, including the bugs and the animals, to attract what they need so that they can pollinate their flowers and they can set their seeds. Taurans are very homey and very protective of themselves and of their home and of their resources and their finances. And it's because, well, this is the time when we make the seeds. This is the time when we make our offspring. And Taurus knows that it takes very consistent, grounded parents and that type of parenting energy to be able to take care of the next generation. So after a selfish, time in Aries, we find this mature and responsible energy develop in Taurus that is based around the safe reproduction and setting of seeds so that life can continue. You definitely want to read the book though, because the book takes the story into much more detail. Then we move into the third part of spring, and one of my favorite seasons, Gemini season. Actually, I just recently responded to someone's post that were asking, so why is Gemini dualistic? Why is Gemini dark and light? Like, what's up with that? I have an answer for that. And it's based on the garden, and it's based on things you can actually see and witness, and not just some things that you read or that you say. This is actual proof that we can see. So now, third portion of spring, we enter and we are in the season of Gemini, in the sign of Gemini. We've grown up, right? We've grown big and strong from Aries season. We've set deep roots in Taurus season. We've had, grown really strong roots that have been able to grow flowers and grow seeds. The reason that the plant can set seed and flowers is because the plant on the earth has been well established. The reasoning that plants, kind of in the beginning of life grow shorter or smaller on top of the earth is because they're actually setting their roots down. They want to make sure that their roots are strong and interconnected into the underground network so that the top part of the plant can actually be supported. So by the time we get to Gemini season, we have a strong root bed. We have a strong plant on top that probably has seeds on it or maybe some flowers left over, obviously well established and growing well. Not too much worry anymore. We're not worried about frost. Usually by Gemini season, we're almost in summer now, so we're not worried about frost. We're not worried about too much, actually, to be honest with you. And so in Gemini season, there becomes this inner awareness of, wait a minute, so I've been so busy growing and setting root and setting flowers and setting seeds, I didn't even recognize all this stuff that's going on around me. In Gemini season, the plant now has the luxury of being concerned with everything around it. It now has a little bit of experience too, right? It's been alive for 2 months, or relived, if this is a reborn plant coming from a rootstock from last year. It has some experience, it has some knowledge, and it becomes obsessed with the experience and knowledge of all of the beings around it, because it's now like, I'm no longer worried about survival and my basic needs. And so it's like, oh my gosh, look at all these other plants, look at all these other beings, look at the bugs, look at the sky, look at everything. And it becomes literally obsessed with knowledge and in taking the knowledge and the information that is all around it, because it can because it no longer has to worry about its space survival. So in Gemini season, we find it's time for communication, and it is time for the seeds, which are the literal communicators of the plant, right? It's the genetic information. Hi, Ginger. Hi, Sistren. Thanks for tuning in. I'm happy that you tuned in. Happy Jupiter Day. I love you. In Gemini season, it is, the seeds. The seed is the genetic information of the plant, right? This is information in a capsule. Do I have any seeds here right now? I don't. It's genetic information in a capsule, and it's time to spread it. In Gemini season, there tends to be spring winds coming in. The air is drying more and more every day. We have less moisture, more evaporation has been taking place, more sun every day. There's more and more sun available on the earth, and it's drying things up and stimulating growth and doing all kinds of things. Actually, it's all about the sun, y'all. Well, it's all about everything, but the sun is the leader of how we all interact on this earth, especially plants. And so, shoot, I don't know where I was going exactly. What's up, Sistren? I've never actually even said your name, to be honest with you. But what's up, Sistren? We need to talk. That's why we do need to do it. But hello, love. Happy Jupiter Day. All right, Gemini. All right, not my children. Spring winds. So it's drying up. The air is drying up. And there is a new frequency on the earth, and it is of movement. So winds are coming in and shaking, especially like grasses. The seeds of grasses free, and the seeds of dandelions start to float off into the spring winds, right? And travel great distances. Animals are more active by this time, right? So, let's say, think about bears that have been hibernating, or animals that have been hibernating all winter. Spring woke them up. They started to move around and get food in Aries season. Bears, the first thing bears are worried about when they wake up is food. They get stirring and they find food. The mother bear probably already had her baby bears and has little cubs, and so her primary focus is herself, to make sure she has enough milk to feed her babies. It's all about survival in the beginning. And then the second part of the season, animals might mate. In Taurus season, they might mate. Not as worried about moving around yet, because again, we don't really know what the environment's going to be like. We still might have snow, we still might have frost, so everybody's kind of low-key and like waiting it out. But by Gemini season, it's pretty much for sure that we're good, right? Like the light is good, the sun is good, the temperatures are good, everything's good. And it's time to move around. So animals are moving around, more bugs are moving around, more and more bugs are being hatched every day. Furry animals get, light, airy seeds stuck into their fur, and they start moving that genetic information around. Again, the season of Gemini. Why is Gemini aware of the darkness and the light, though? This is where the conversation of mycelium comes in. I was just showing you all the mycelium in this pot, right, of these moringa seeds, and the mushroom that grew from that mycelium. Well, again, during this part of the year, Gemini becomes highly, highly aware of everything that is around it, above the earth, like, oh, all the plants and the bugs and the sky and the everything, and wants to know it all and just consumes it all. and starts to share its genetic information and communicate, but also under the ground, because now we have a really strong plant who has spread its roots out, and these roots are reaching and stretching out to a lot of different plants around. Matter of fact, it's probably even where the awareness has come from for the plant, that there's a lot of stuff to check out, because the information is from under the earth, from the roots. So as those roots spread out continually, they interconnect with a being called mycelium. And mycelium is this white stringy being that can actually grow through roots and shares information, water, oxygen, nutrients with the plants under the earth, with the roots. Mycelium interconnects the entire underground world, and there's portions of it up in the Pacific Northwest that are like, I don't know, 1,200 or 2,000 square miles wide of connection, like thousands of square miles of one singular mycelium being interconnected through it passing through the roots. So the mycelium itself is not roots, but the way it is, the way it's structured, is it can literally grow through those really itty bitty tiny penetrable holes of the plant's roots, grow through it and bring with it nutrients and water and oxygen and information, right? Because all of that really is just information. It's transferring that through the plants and shares it with all of the plants, and actually is why we know Mother Earth is communicating underground. You know, in forest fires, when forest fires happen, and this is a really beautiful part of the part 2. You guys got to read this. If you like this story, you really want to read this tale. Beings know that fire is over there because of the underground. The underground communicates and tells the story and spreads the story out all around. So the mycelium network becomes a part of Gemini's awareness, and Gemini goes under the earth into the darkness and begins to absorb all the information under there as well. This is the time when the roots are gaining more knowledge from being strong and being spread out more and being more interconnected together. So this is the season of Gemini. After Gemini, we move into Cancer season, which is where we're at right now. Cancer season was a tough one for me this year. Super homebody season, all about the feels. It was such a feeling and feelers, season. And I imagine that a lot of y'all had very similar Cancer season, because we are entering into summertime. This is the first part of summer, and it's now the sun is overhead a lot. The sun is now overhead for more hours than it has been ever since last year. And something really, really special is happening. We've already mentioned it a couple times, but it is taking place, and it's like, it's taking things to a whole nother level. Evaporation. So the way in which I have come to see Cancer in the garden is a few different ways. The first is evaporation. The sun is here too much almost. It's not, but too much, but it's here a lot, and it is sucking that water up like crazy. This is when things start to dry out and the garden starts to dry out. And if you don't have your garden well mulched by this time, you will be watering it unnecessarily. You should have at least a foot of mulch on top of any dirt, because that is the protective layer of the earth that allows this regenerative cycle to go on. If not, you have to worry about things like feeding it, minerals and things for the next, for plants to eat, as well as also water. Natalie, thank you, sister. I do feel very blessed to have this story within, and I'm grateful to have platforms like this. I can just come live in my busy, crazy life and share it. So thanks for being here. So the water is going away, and it's going away fast, and the evaporation is happening, right? So not only from the earth, not only from this dirt, right? Not only is the water being evaporated from the dirt, but it's also being evaporated from the plants as well. The plants also are filled with water, right? Water is life. So we all have a lot of water in us. And during this time, the plants start to feel something that they have never felt before, at least in this realm. Plants have never felt this before. and they start to feel water being moved from the inside of their body to the outside. They start to feel evaporation. This is the first feeling sign of the zodiac. I mean, Aries is really a feeling sign as well. Honestly, it feels the stimulation of the light of the sun and starts to activate. And really everybody feels, but Cancer begins the first feeling that signals within, hey, we might need to like really take this whole evaporation, more sun drying out thing more seriously. We see the second really protective sign of the zodiac. Cancer is known as the crab because Cancer is wired to protect itself. By this time in the garden, plants have been growing up big and tall. Let me turn this around really quick and show you some of the plants here on the balcony. You can see there's a lot of different layers, and I don't have, this is not a real, I should have been planting these plants years ago, so there's not too many out here, and plus I've had to pull a few in from the heat. But you can see how there's different layers, right? Here's a tree, and then there's a taller tree there, and then there's a layer up here, and then there's layers down here. Those different layers, those different niches are really important to gardens and to all of life. But those different layers in a garden and in a forest are going to build different layers of protection, right? So plants that grow on the bottom of the earth, on the forest floor, they tend to be shade plants. They tend to be plants that don't need or like or are do well with a lot of sunlight. And then you have your canopy trees on the top. You have big, big trees who need tons of sun to grow their leaves. And those leaves grow and create a canopy that protects the plants on the bottom. And then there's a ton of layers in between. Everybody fills their niche or their niche and does the best job they can in their niche. And that's one of the beautiful stories that I've been telling for years about the food forest garden, about plants, is that what plants really teach us is the most important thing for you, individual person, is to do what you do best. There really is no health in environmental relationships if you individually are not doing what you do best. If you are spending your time and energy worried about what the plant next to you is doing, you're going to probably fail, because in reality, without every single being its best self, the whole system will fall. So trees grow up big, tall. They create canopies that protect all the plants below, and all the plants below focus on what they're doing. Cancer season, it's becoming apparent. It's becoming like, whoa, you guys, things are changing. It's getting hot. There is not as much water, and we need to take this seriously, right? And so Cancer is coming to this conclusion through an actual feeling, a physical feeling. Water is being pulled out of its body in the garden. The plants are literally losing water from its body, and they feel it. They're like, wait, is that, do I feel something? Is this, water is moving out of me, like I'm sweating right now. They feel it. This is the time where we finally feel this. We sense it. Our senses become aware of the transpiration of water through cell walls. And this is Cancer. Cancer is the most, is one of the most deepest feelers, because they have the ability to feel evaporation. Taurus recognize the evaporation and set seeds to protect, the future generation. Gemini realized evaporation was happening, but neither one of those signs took it serious because there wasn't that much sun yet. But by Cancer season, you can't not take it serious. You can't not take your feelings serious in Cancer season. It just doesn't work. You have to take your feelings serious because the sun is demanding it of you. The layers. On top of that, Cancer is known as the crab, a protective shell, hard shell. Which, the reasoning that I can see that in the garden is because if you're not in a well-established ecosystem by this time of the year, chances are you're not going to make it. If you're one plant growing out in the middle of a dirt field and there's no plants around you to protect you, when that sun comes right above head in Cancer season, the beginning of summer, and is beaming down on you, between 85, 90, 115 degrees, depending on where you're at, you ain't gonna make it if you don't have friends around. If you haven't created an underground network of beings and created relationships underground of sharing of nutrients, water, and oxygen, and you don't have those beings growing up above you on many different layers and putting a leaf out over you here, or putting, you know, some branches are moved over here and are growing over you to protect you from the sun, you're not gonna make it unless you're one of those trees that need all the light. And so Cancer becomes aware of this. And Cancer is naturally a protective sign, a sign that wants to protect itself and is worried about its home. Cancer now has gone through Gemini season, and so in Gemini it became aware of all of its neighbors. Well, now in Cancer season, Cancer actually cares about all of its neighbors. It actually cares about the family around it that it's been interacting with, getting to know, build with, grow with. It actually has value in this family, and its desire is to protect this family. So that's Cancer season. Then we move into Leo season, and this is the dog days of summer. We're getting ready to move into them now. Leo season is the season of vacation. It is the season of the height of the sun, the hottest temperatures, the longest, well, not necessarily the longest, but we're coming out of the longest days. And Leo season tends to be very, well, it's a couple different things. It's time to present yourself. You know, what do you guys do? What do we do in Leo season? You know, we go on vacation. We've been working on our bodies and our suntans and whatever, you know, our wardrobe all year long. And it's Leo season, y'all. It's no school. A lot of vacations happen during this time. People are ready to relax and chill, but also to display themselves. The sun is like this spotlight on us all. It's just shining, beaming down on us, and we're basking in its light, and we're golden, and we're beautiful, and we're like, hello, I know you see me. Leo season, baby, I know you see me. Bikinis and, you know, short dresses and all of the things of display and of showing the true beauty of self, because ain't nothing else you can do. Ain't nothing else you can do when it's that hot. But, you know, like, but be out there and displaying yourself or relaxing or partying. You know, this is the time of summer parties, and I can think back to my 20s, you know, and this is the time of year where like so many summer parties are popping off, and it's like sunset parties. You know, I grew up in Southern California, so during this year we're like, you know, beach parties and watching the sunset together, and everybody's just, you know, in that vibe. It's this Leo vibe. It's time to use the spotlight of the sun to show your best self and to show your work that you've invested in from April, from Aries season. You know, we've grown a lot from Aries season to Leo season. We've set babies, we've created community, we've gotten to know people, we've loved on people, we've felt things that we've never felt before, and we feel so mature by this time in the garden. The plants feel so mature. They're like, I'm like an adult plant. I know so many things. I'm so intelligent. I'm so bright and beautiful, and they are showing themselves off during this time. You go into a garden during Leo season, and it's a vibration, it's a feeling. There is less water, there is more sun, but the garden feels like a vacation during this time of the year. You know, it feels like you want to sit in the garden with your glass of lemonade and just sit back and chill, you know, and that's the feeling. And let's see, anything else I want to say about Leo quickly? The water, right? Less and less water, much more evaporation, less and less water, more and more sun. And so we are preparing for massive changes. Leo is aware of this. Leo is aware that, all right, y'all, so remember those changes we've been talking about? They're really close now. The sun now has also reached its climax and has reached the summer solstice. So every day of Leo season, actually, the sun is here less and less and less and less. Now, it's a party during Leo season. It's a time of self-presentation. So Leos don't worry about the sun leaving. They don't worry about it at all. They don't even think about it, actually. They can tell. They can sense it and tell. And it's even maybe one of the reasons why it is such a time for partying. You got to go party. You know, let's say tomorrow is your last day. What are you going to do before your last day? You're not going to just sit around and cry. I'm not, at least. If I knew tomorrow was the last day, the apocalypse, actually, let me shout out Medina. We have an apocalypse plan. We have an apocalypse plan. If I knew the apocalypse was coming and there were no more days after tomorrow, best believe we having a party at my spot. Y'all will all be invited, and you're gonna want to come. It's gonna be popping. I'm Virgo rising. I put off a very modest exterior, but I do know how to party. I do know how to pop it off. And if it was the end of the world, we getting it down. And that's Leo. Leo's like, all right, you guys, everything might go to shit tomorrow or next season, so we're not gonna worry about it. We're just gonna party, we're gonna lay back, we're gonna chill, we're gonna enjoy the sun, get this suntan. This is where like a lot of the reds in the garden start to ripen. Lycopene is something that makes plants red, so like tomatoes start to really ripen during this time, because that actually naturally protects the fruit from the sun, the sun's rays. Lycopene and many other nutrients at this time are seen because they can protect the plant from the sun. And so this is the time, right? A lot of people wear sunscreen, which I do not recommend wearing sunscreen. Eat lycopene, eat tons and tons of lycopene and build up natural sun protection. But this is the time. And Leo knows it's time to chill back, hang out, not stress too much about growth even during this time of the year, and just chill out. Because Virgo season is coming. And if you have strong Virgo energy, you know, guys, as soon as I'm done, I'm gonna come in and we're gonna leave. So there's no reason for you to keep coming and asking me. As soon as I'm done, we're gonna get ready and leave. So you can just go play until then. Okay? I'll be done. I'm halfway done and I'm actually, okay, we'll clean it up.
I did.
Cool. We gotta make the second half a little quicker. So Virgo season is coming, and if you have strong Virgo in you, you know what Virgo does. Virgo ain't no joke. Virgo season comes in after Leo season, after all the partying and all the fun and all the relaxed energy, and Virgo's like, all right, so Leo, I see that you didn't really recognize that the sun was disappearing, or if you did, you decided to not pay any attention to it, but the sun is disappearing. We have a major issue, and it's time to get serious about some things. Whitney, yes, Sister, you definitely want to read this book, love. Seriously, you really do. Peace, Sister, and happy Jupiter Day. So Virgo, and my rising sign comes in, and it's like, all right, so I know y'all have been having a good time, but we are losing the most powerful energy that we have available to us every single day extremely quickly, because by Virgo season, the sun is disappearing fast. I've actually watched it. Naya and I, coming home from gymnastics, we watch the sun go from, it's setting on one side of the street over over Virgo season, setting all the way on the other side of the street, because the ecliptic is shifting quickly and the sun is moving to the other hemisphere. It's just the way things work. So Virgo is like, y'all been playing all summer long and you didn't even take the time to like recognize our whole environment is changing. What the heck? One of the first things that tend to happen during Virgo season is fires. We now have the, really dry land, not a lot of water, unless you're in the monsoon area here, like in the desert. This is the main time actually that we get rain is during Virgo season, or a little bit before Virgo season. I guess it's like June through Virgo season, but so maybe not so much in certain parts of the world. Well, that's actually the case with all of this. This is totally different depending on where you're at in the world, which is why there's so many different ways to define a circle of life, and you just can't think yours is the only one. But to be really dope, it would be sick if that you actually made your own, define your own circle. You know what I'm saying? Do it all on your own. Make your own religion or spiritual practice or definition of a circle of life. Your own, book of knowledge. So Virgo. Y'all know what Virgo does. You guys have Virgos in your lives. They critically analyze everything. They watch for every single detail and they have something to say about it. Which is why you guys get so much of what I have to say about things, because my rising sign, the energy that I reflect and put out to the world, is Virgo. And so I'm like, I can't help it. I see all those details. I see everything. And my Pisces energy brings it all in together into this story that makes sense. And once it makes sense, I don't share it before it makes sense to me. But once it makes sense, then I have to tell the world, because that's what Virgo does. Virgo's like, y'all tripping. Y'all are tripping. There's no more water. The sun is leaving and y'all are partying? No, man, come over here and get serious about life. So Virgo gets serious about life, and it sits everybody down and it says, all right, so we need to start doing our checks and balances. We need to start making sure where our resources are at. We also need to deal with the fires that are happening, because during Virgo season, there is less water and less sun, but it's still enough sun to where it's hot and dry. And this tends to be when we see fire season start. In Southern California, actually, I think it always started right around August, September. And it was a trip. Every year, people who live in fire zones, every single year would be like, I can't believe there's a fire this year. I'm like, bro, like every single year? How many years do you have to have the same thing happen where you can't believe it's happening again? If you decide to stay and live where, Leo, what's up, brethren? If you decide to stay and live where it's fires at every year, you got to deal with the fire. You got to deal with what that brings, but you shouldn't be surprised by it. It happens every Virgo season, guys. It's actually a part of what the Virgo does. It's now time to kind of settle the score of the growing season, reap all the benefits, right? We get massive harvests during this season. So many fruits are ready. A lot of greens are ready to be replanted, but so many fruits are available and ready. So much food, so much medicine. It's just ample all over the place. Hello, Rosemary. Peace, brethren and sistren. I'm happy y'all are here. Happy Rosemary, my first European Astrology in the Garden. We got Astrology in the Garden all the way overseas in Europe. Thank you, Rosemary, for purchasing that. I hope that you're enjoying the read. I'm pretty much telling the story of part 2. Ton of abundance, ton of fruits available, you know, melons and pumpkins and corn and all of the fall food is coming. It's a huge season of abundance. And Virgo knows that in order for us to last all the way through to the next spring, we have to get serious and we have to start planning our resources and using them the right way. We can't just be playing like in Leo season anymore. Like, we have to actually take life seriously and make the hard choices and do the hard things for next year. And so fires come and they rip through and they burn up the earth. Not the earth, but the plants of the earth. And they leave the ash on the earth. Fires are hard, and when they burn houses and end, you know, tons of physical memories that people have stored in their houses for years, and they create, you know, tons of financial trauma for humans, or they kill animals and they destroy beautiful forests that have been growing for thousands of years, or not destroy, but, you know, they create challenges or make them look different, I'll say. It can be hard to watch a fire rip through the earth. What did that fire leave behind? My body, your body, this, you know, actually this is a great one here. This is a mint plant that has pretty much, you know, she just couldn't take the temperatures. I watered her every day and pretty much her leaves just couldn't take it. So she dried out and died back. But if you see down there, there are new green leaves growing because this plant's life is under the earth. And we're getting ready to shift from above the earth and the sun being mostly above earth down into the underworld. That's where we're getting ready to shift into. I'm going to come back and read that, Rosemary. So what did those fires leave behind? Those fires left behind ash. And the ash of life is filled with the actual minerals. Our body, my body, your body, this plant, this moringa. The reason moringa is so good for us is because it has minerals in it. Minerals are the physical structures of life. They're literally physical, you know, bits, grit. If you have the ash of anything and you wipe the ash, blow the ash, if you feel it, the ash actually has grit to it. That it's not ash, it's grit. These are the salts of life. These are the minerals of life. They're the building blocks of life, and all of us are made of them. They have to be taken up from the earth. That's how we get them. They grow in they're in the soil, and the plants absorb them through their roots from the soil. We have to eat them to get them inside of our bodies. Because that's the way life works. And so when plants are burned and their bodies are burned down, the thing that remains, a few different things can remain during this process. this alchemical process. But during fire season, during Virgo season, what is left over is the ash with the minerals. So the reason we have to have fire every year, is because there's no other way to get that amount of minerals back down to the earth. The earth knows how to regenerate really, really well. She's really good at this. That's why we're all here for hundreds of millions and billions of years, however long life has been here. It's because guess what? Mother Earth, aka me, knows what she's doing. She knows what she's doing. She has it down pat. So she ravishes through, burns up all the plants, leaves the minerals on the earth, and the minerals are soaked back up for the next rotation of life. So Virgo comes in, does all this checks and balances, starts being super critical and analytical to make sure that we're ready for the next season. Because guess what's coming? Libra. I'm really loving our readings, and I'm so glad you bring more of these talks. I've got the Virgo 6. Ooh, trust me, some deep spiritual everything. Dang, that's a lot of Virgo. I love Virgo though. Libra season is coming, y'all, and Libra ain't no joke. I love talking about Libra. I personally struggle with Libra energy. I come from a lot of Libra energy, and it's a very detached energy. Why? Because of its job. Imagine this. We've had this beautiful growing season all year long. All the plants in the garden are looking great. Now things are changing, right? We just got out of Virgo season. It's getting drier. There's less water, so you're starting to see more browning of leaves. Plants are struggling a little bit by this time, especially annual plants are like, I don't really have the energy anymore to continue to grow because the sun is leaving. I don't have the water to continue to grow because that's all evaporated. And so they're starting to be more browned leaves. Then Libra comes in, and the winds of change. This is cardinal air. The winds of change literally sweep over the earth, and they come through and they move through all of the trees and all of the bushes, and they literally detach last season's growth from the plant and forces it to the ground. This is the fall. Right? So we went up. Now it's time to fall. Why? Because we're going to go up again, and then we're going to fall, and then we're going to go up again, and then we're going to fall. So this is the fall, and Libra comes in and makes its work very known. It has to have any detachment from emotion, because you can't be emotional when this is your job. When your job is to come in and during a very beautiful time of the season, right? You have beautiful, beautiful colors, very similar to Taurus. Libra is ruled by the planet of Venus, and Taurus is also ruled by the planet of Venus. And the main reason that I can see in this correlation is because of the beautiful times of the season. In Taurus, it was all about setting new flowers. In Venus, or in Libra, it's all about releasing all the really beautiful colored leaves, all the red and orange and yellow leaves. It's Libra's job to come in and release all those from the tree and drop them down to the earth. And why? Because what's in those leaves, guys? Minerals, right? It's minerals in those leaves. The actual stuff that makes compost and dirt healthy is in those leaves. And so we need to have the trees drop and fall and die every year so that the earth can build her layers up and life can regenerate, which is why food forests work. Food forestry is so amazing because you are acting as Mother Earth. You are creating a system, an ecosystem that creates this circle of life that was self-sustaining. So Libra comes in with its cardinal wind, and it shakes all the leaves free, and the leaves drop down to the earth and they cover the earth. And Libra can't be really emotional about this. It has to have a detached nature to itself. It cannot be worried about well, how's that feel? Oh, it hurts. Oh, it's sad losing your leaves. Oh, you didn't want to die. Sorry. There's no way. Libra can't be worried about that. It can't be focused on feelings. It has to be focused on its job. Because guess who's coming next? Scorpio season. We are now in the middle of October, and Scorpio season has come. Fall is all the way in legit, and now we have usually a little bit of moisture coming back. When it comes to Scorpio season, we tend to start getting some fall moisture and fall rains, getting prepared for the winter. And the moisture's come back, and the plants are like super happy about it, but yet they're not really growing anymore. All their leaves have dropped down to the earth, and now we have this blanket, sometimes inches thick of dead leaves on top of the earth. Well, guess who is born underneath those leaves? Scorpio. We have fixed water, water that can't move anywhere, energy that can't move anywhere, that is stuck and yet feels everything. Similar to Cancer, Scorpio comes in and is literally birthed under that layer of leaves that Libra has released. Natalie, your Libra rising. My sun is in the 7th house as well, so I have a lot of Libra energy. My mother is Libra rising, Libra moon too, and Libra, I've just always struggled with that energy. But you are necessary. We have to have Libra. So Scorpio is born underneath that layer of leaves. And you guys have, if you've seen leaves decomposed, or like what happens when those leaves, you know, once the fall rains come in, those leaves get all slimy and sticky. Scorpio is an energy that is built under, that is born under the slimy, sticky leaves of spring and is comfortable there. Scorpio is born there and is comfortable there. If you have a Scorpio in your life, you got like a ace for life if they trust you. If they trust you and if they've decided that you're safe, you'll have a Scorpio, you have a person with you there for life. What's up, sister? Hey, Martina and Lanita, what's up, y'all? Hey, Lanita, happy Jupiter Day, y'all. Talking about the book, Astrology in the Garden, telling the story. It's story time. I gotta wrap this up in like 9 minutes though. So, Scorpio. It's born there and it's comfortable there. And if you have a Scorpio in your life, you got to ride or die for life if they love you. because Scorpios have the capacity to handle the stickiest, slimiest, grossest death of life. Life is dying. Life is decaying. Why? Because that's how we prepare for the next season. But who wants to deal with decay and decomposition and slimy, sticky stuff? Scorpios. They want to, they can, they need to actually. That's their purpose. They were born during the time to actually do that. We have to have Scorpios do this. Now that can create, a particular type of a being as well, right? Like that's why they are connected to the Scorpion, because there's a level of protection that has to happen here, right? Like, hello, like I'm underneath the earth processing the death, the literal breakdown of the leaves. Scorpio is under there literally helping us break these leaves down, okay? And without them being broken down, you're not going to get those minerals available into the earth for the next season. It's Scorpio's job. Scorpio also feels this actual breakdown of life. They can feel the water penetrating into the dying leaves and the feeling of it breaking down. They can feel the death. So whereas Cancer was able to feel the evaporation, Scorpio can feel the death through the waters of fall. And they cook it up, or they don't, they get it ready for cooking up, right? Scorpio starts to break everything down. It allows the sliminess to penetrate down and allows these leaves to start breaking down, because next is Sagittarius season, and one of my favorite signs, Sagittarians, because Saggies are just such genuinely kind and optimistic beings. Their job is to come in and cook that shit up, okay? Sagittarius is the mutable fire. It is moving fire energy. And during this time of the year, it's almost winter time. This is the last part of fall, and we know what time we're going into, okay? The sun is almost gone, and there's very little energy above ground now, okay? We don't have much sun, and we're sitting in darkness much more, and nothing is being stimulated by the sun above. So it's Saggy season, and what Saggy knows how to do is heat the earth up, heat it up. If you've ever had a compost bin, you know how compost works. You put greens, your leaves, and you put browns, and with water over time, that all breaks down and gets really hot. Steamy temperature comes up from compost piles. That steaming temperature is Sagittarius. Sagittarius comes in and burns it and cooks it all up and makes it all one healthy, dark, rich humus. It's Sag that heats it, kills off the pathogens, kills off the bacteria that have grown amok over the year, handles that slimy, sticky stuff of Scorpio that can't, that tends to have bacteria in it that can overgrow and get out of control. So Scorpio comes and burns it all up and creates nice, hot, ready to grow in compost. At this time also, Sagittarius is known as a forever expander. This is the energy of Jupiter. It's an expansion sign. And so Sagittarius is all about going out to explore. Well, what do you want to do when there's no sun above, no popping, no more activity is popping? You're totally aware of the underworld at this time. You are cooking underneath the earth, right? What's the purpose of hanging out in the garden at this time? You know, there's no new life, no bugs, no animals. Everybody's either dead or dying or decaying. Why hang out? Why sit around and hang out? So Sagittarius, after it burns everything up and starts to create that compost, the spirit, the soul of Sagittarius, the spirit of the plant takes off under the earth and begins to travel underneath the ground and travel far and wide and experience and expand its awareness and its attention, because none of the energy is above the ground anymore. All the energy has gone down into the earth, and Sagittarius is under the earth with all that fire, all that energy, and it's like, I can't just sit here and just chill out. I'm about to go. So it spreads out and it explores, and it goes out to way over that part of the garden, goes out to way over that part of the garden, and is recognizing all is one, we're all the same being, has very deep downloads because of this as well. Because it's getting ready to get cold, y'all. Winter solstice comes. And the special thing about winter solstice, right? This is the beginning of the sun returning. So many people would like to say that April is the beginning of the year. I personally, I don't know, I go back and forth. Honestly, you could say any point is the beginning of the year. You could tell any point. Any point of the circle could be the start. You could start a circle at any point. But Capricorn season is a pretty good time to also look at the beginning of the year, because, you know, Sagittarius has moved out. It has left its body and started to travel. And then we hit the solstice, and the sun is in between its least amount and it's getting ready to come back to its most amount. And so there's almost no sun these days. This is the death of the sun, right? The Son of God dies during these days for 3 days and then is reborn, maybe about 3 weeks actually, but this is the rebirth of the sun. Before the sun is rebirthed, though, we have Capricorn, and Capricorn is like, all right, y'all, look, I got some amazing compost under here that is really, really good for life, but there's no structure to it. Sagittarius has been out there traveling around and didn't take the time to structure its compost or do anything with this amazing product it made. So Capricorn comes and creates these bricks and these rocks and these bricks of foundation, and takes this compost, and I'm gonna brick you up and brick you up and brick you up and brick you up, and creates this foundation of compost for the next year, really through freezing the ground, right? The top layers of soil and the cold parts actually get frozen or close to it. They definitely become still. There's no life moving around. The worms have died or gone down lower, or have gone into, into like a comatose, into hibernation. The bugs are dead. Nobody's moving around during this time. It's time for solidness. And it's the compost of Sagittarius season, fed by Scorpio season, created through Libra season, noticed through Virgo season, that allows Capricorn to come and make these strong bricks and this foundation. And guess how much work it takes to make strong bricks and foundation? It takes so much dang work. It takes so much work. Capricorns are here to work. That is their instruction within. Work with the least amount of resources possible. We don't need sun. We don't need happiness. We don't need joy. Just work and do your work, and know that you're doing your work for the future and it's worth it. And that's Capricorn. And I'm so grateful for Capricorn. They give my watery self so much a chance at life. Capricorn and Saturn give me a chance at life. Because without it, I would be, well, we're getting ready to talk about Pisces, gone someplace. So you have Cap, and Capricorn is here. It's focused on the earth. It's not leaving the earth. It's here, focused, and it's making its structure. And it's like, Sag, come back. We got work to do. So Sag comes back and gives its energy to Capricorn, and we have these structures, right? Because it's the coldest days and it's the darkest days, and nothing is popping, y'all. Nothing's popping during this time. This is the internal work. This is why the holiday season exists during this time, because it's time to be inside with family and friends and building inside. It's inner work time. It's the darkest days of the year. Nobody wants to be outside. I shouldn't say nobody, not too many people, but what's up, sister and Amethyst? Happy Jupiter Day. Not too many people want to be outside during this time. Caps don't mind. Sagittarians don't mind. Aquarians don't mind. Pisces, I don't know, I'm kind of in between, but there's nothing popping. There's no sun, there's no parties, there's no growth, there's no life. All the energy is in the earth. The sun is gone. It's on its way back, but it's over there on the other side of the hemisphere. And so all of the energy has been put down into the earth, and that's why there's this underground party and happening going on, because that's the only way that we're going to get that new life to spring forward in April again, right? So Capricorn does its job, and it creates these strong physical foundational properties of compost, and they're kind of frozen. They're kind of like stuck in time because it's cold and nobody's down there doing anything, so they're just there. So Aquarius season comes, and Aquarius season, Aquarian, my moon is in Aquarius, and let me tell you, the way that I think and see things, it's not from this perspective. The way that I see life is from up there, and it's like almost like I'm flying overhead and I'm like looking at everything. Aquarius season comes in, and the last two signs are a little bit more challenging to discuss, and if I wasn't a Pisces sun with an Aquarius moon, I probably couldn't do this or see this, but that's who I be. So Aquarius comes in, and there's not much popping under the earth. There's not much popping on the earth, and there's not much popping under the earth. Pretty much both on top of the earth and under the earth is cold and barren, and there's nothing to really be thinking about or worried about. So you can stay on the earth if you want, or you could go up to the sky and start to travel. Sagittarius traveled the earth already, right? So we know what's popping down here. Let's go see what's going on up there. Oh, and Gemini also traveled the earth earlier, right? Gemini earlier in the year traveled amongst all the beings up here. Sagittarius traveled under the earth, all the beings under there, before they all got frigid and cold. Aquarius is like, where am I going to go? There's nowhere to go. I'm going to go up there. I'm going to the sky. I'm going to the sky. I'm going to the sky. Aquarius shoots all the way up, and from bird's eye perspective begins to analyze the entire picture of life from up there. It's flying above and realizes, oh my God, you guys, we haven't known much of what was going on. There's like a whole lot more garden space than just the garden we were growing in, and it's all interconnected. Aquarius basically recognizes the mycelium from above, but the mycelium of earth, of life from here. It literally sees, oh my gosh, we're literally all one and all interconnected, and we all depend on each other. And y'all are tripping down there. Like, it from up here is a totally different perspective. You have the humanitarian energy birthed in Aquarius, because it's no longer, it's not focused on anything that's happening on the ground. Aquarius is focused on everything that's happening from above. And then when you're up there looking, I promise you, when you're up there looking from above down below, the issues down here just don't mean that much. Why? Even people here on this, on my thread right now, watching this video right now, why would I create, blockings in my life of not being able to accept people, how they come, who they are? I might get my feelings hurt. I might be affected by your choices or by how your life worked out. But why would I decide to just cut people off or cut people out of my life or be cruel to all of the beings that make up my whole family? I'm able to see from up there that I get how we each do life does matter, but also how we each do life does matter so much. It's actually how we come together to grow and create the ecosystem that we're in, is through doing it together. So anyone who's ready to just and cut people off altogether is not in tune with the upper Aquarius energy. They're not aware that in order for us all to do this, we have to all do this together. And there is no getting out of that. You don't get to get out of doing it all together. Okay? You don't get to. So you can either live in alignment with that and nourish it and support that, or you don't have to. Corey, what's up, friend? Yeah, they're not feeling me doing this so long. I'm trying to wrap up. I only got one more sign though, because we're gonna go to parkour class. But they're fine. They're gonna be there for 3 hours, and they don't have the patience to give mom a little bit of time to do what she needs to do as well. It doesn't matter if I've been doing it for an hour. I'm getting ready to take you to parkour for 3 hours. Patience. Aquarius. This is the perspective of Aquarius, and the reason it is developed is because the earth is cold and barren and frigid at this time. That's what we have to really realize. They are adjustments. They are, they're not of Earth because there's nothing popping on Earth at that time. So they leave. This is when the energy goes to other places and is a more expansive energy, recognizing everything, checking out everything. And again, there's nothing happening here. So why would it be of Earth? Aquarius energy is of other worlds because of this. It's not necessarily if they truly are born from another planet. Believe what you want to believe, or another star system, believe what you want to believe. But on this Earth and in this Earth cycle, they are so bird's eye view because that's the time of the Earth, that's the time of the season that those things are happening. You know what I mean? The word Aquarius is just a word we've given to define this time of the season, this part of the circle. This is a circle of life. And right now we're on Aquarius. We're just getting out of Capricorn, which is the bottom of the circle. And we're making that small incline up. We're going to be up at Pisces right over here. But Aquarius is like this portion of the circle. We're using the word Aquarius, and I'm using these words to define this portion of the circle. But really, that's all we're talking about is... This is foundation, right? This is Capricorn. We're talking about this portion of the circle. And we have defined this portion of the circle. Aries is this portion of the circle, springing forth. This is Aries. We define what this part of the circle is. The fall, Libra, is this part of the circle, falling. The leaves are falling. We're defining this part of the circle. So Aquarius happens and then is up there moving and flying around, checking everybody out. And then we move into Pisces season. This is the last part of winter, and we're getting ready to move into the rebirth of spring, right? The last portion of the bottom half of the circle. It's Pisces season. And so Pisces finds itself up in the clouds. It comes to be up in the clouds, and it's like, wait a minute, I don't know where I'm at anymore. Pisces all of a sudden becomes aware that, wait a minute, y'all. Okay, so there's an above and there's a below, and the sun is coming back, because the sun is coming back a lot during these days. It's ticking back every day more and more and more. The sun is coming back. Pisces starts to feel that stimulation. Pisces is like, wait a minute. There's more to life than what I've ever realized before. And it finds itself initially up in the clouds. During Pisces, and this is really the hardest one to talk about, and you really should read this part of the book to understand the 12th house. This is a part of the subconscious. The earth is getting signaled that the sun is coming back and it's time to be reborn. It is getting this signal. And yet it is also, it's not yet time though. It's still cold. There's still not much sun yet. And so Pisces becomes... We're up in the clouds and we're flying, and then the moisture of winter begins to become evaporated yet again. The sun is coming back, and that cold, wet snow, the moisture of winter, starts to be evaporated yet again. The sun actually begins to take charge and take lead again. And Pisces somehow transfers out of that bird's eye view and finds itself in the actual evaporate mists of the evaporating water of the winter into the sun. Pisces is the literal, the mist. It no longer, it's not Cancer feeling the mist coming out. It's not Scorpio feeling the water decompose the leaves. It is the water. It is the mist. It is the experience that everyone has been dealing with pretty much. The whole year has been about what the sun is doing and how the sun is affecting the environment. And Pisces literally becomes and is this in-between realm of winter moving into spring, of ice and snow turning into the wet spring weather. I love to connect people into the garden with Pisces being the actual mist, because this mist is existing in between the above and the below, and that's Pisces. Pisces is a bridge between the above and the below, between the left and the right. It is the neutral center. It is an awareness that without this center portion, without this neutral beginning, without this neutral part that puts out the left and the right, we have nothing. We have nothing. We have no Aries and we have no Aquarius. We have none of it without this deep inner awareness of where it all comes from. And when you are living as the evaporate, when you are experiencing life as moving the mist of life, you experience everything in its totality. The mist is everywhere. The mist is. The mist falls onto the earth and wets the earth. The mist rises into the clouds and experiences the clouds. The mist is it all. And this is Pisces. Pisces is the mystery that can become hidden from itself. It sure can. Self-awareness is my number one. It's my number one challenge. I've been having reflections my whole life, people telling me who I am, how I am, which is like always weird, right? Like, how do you know who I am? Because I know you don't, because I barely know who I am. But it is truly, Rosemary, the Pisces is the mystery that is hidden even from itself. This is the 12th house. This is this portion of the circle, okay? Because all the sun and the light is up here, so it's hiding this part of the circle. You can't see it as well. And Pisces is this interchangeable, creative force energy that is the mist that penetrates and permeates and touches everything. Get into a misty night. You can't get out of that. You can't ditch or dodge or get away from the mist. It is everywhere. It is everything. It touches and pushes itself up onto all. It understands, it comprehends everything because it floats and moves about it all. A hidden mystery. And yet, when you are born during that time of the year, you also get it. This is why I can tell this story to you all, is because I was born March 10th, right during the ripest time of this time of the year. And I was born with an ability to sense it all. Now, for me to fully claim that ability is challenging because I know what the all is. And I know I'm just one little piece of the all. I know that. Why play around and act like I'm the dopest part of it? I'm one piece. And that's why I was given my birth name, Lanita, insignificant piece of lint. Because I am structured to know the significance and the need of it all. And that is the cycle of the garden and the and a story of the circle of life. What I love about the mist is the moment it sees itself, it gets to rebirth everything through the healed lessons, through senses, everything. Exactly. It's our job. We can't do anything else about it. A Pisces that's not healing and sharing its healing energy with those around him, is not being the mist, is struggling. And give thanks that I have the construction I have. I have a lot of Gemini energy and a lot of Mercury energy. Really, Mercury rules my chart. And so I have the gift of gab and can communicate what I feel and what I sense and what I see, even though it's not seen. But Pisces that aren't able to do that really can struggle and be very self-destructive and just can get very lost because you're the freaking mist. Yeah, Natalie, awesome. You should buy it, love. As a Pisces, you're going to love it. And I hope everyone really, you want to read the book Astrology in the Garden. You want to read it. If you liked this story, if you've hung out with me, you want to read this book. I go into much more detail there, really take you through the exact story, the person that's the plant that's growing through the garden. Oh, that's amazing, Rosemary. Thank you. Peace, sister, and happy y'all hung out with me. And planted some moringa trees. You want to read this book. It's not a book about, you also learn how to read natal charts, and you might want to take my class too in the fall. I'm actually going to be really teaching people how to read natal charts and how to look at this story in all aspects of their life, because this is a story that is repeated in every single circle. The circle is what it is, and when we decide to define the circle, we are going to tell the same story over and over, y'all. How are you going to tell a different story about this? It's just this. It's one story. The difference is the language. The difference is the perspective. If I'm looking at the circle from over here, I'm going to have a different story than when I'm over here, or when I'm right here, or when I'm behind here, right? So it depends on where you're at and what your perspective of the story is as to how the definitions actually come out. But it's one story. It's the circle of life, and it moves us all. The Lion King was trying to put y'all up on some deep stuff. It is an online class, Rosemary. It definitely is, and it'll be out probably fallish. But that is the circle of life, and a story that I see in the garden, and how plants can connect us to the energy of the zodiac, and can actually teach us the signs of the zodiac. I just went through and gave you every sign of the zodiac and gave you the definitions of it, while also seeing those in the plants. And so when friends or family are telling you, oh, the zodiac is whack, or it's fake, or what about the 13th sign, or what about this, or what about that, or it's not real, tell them this story. Play this video for them. Tell them this story and see if it changes their mind. Not that changing their mind is the goal. Yet, if you're missing out on this so easy to see natural cycle of life, Natalie, you're welcome. How much more are you missing out on? How much more are you missing out on? I think that's a really good question to ask anyone. Like, how much more could you be missing out on? You know, this is an unseen story, yet some of us see it. And how much could you be missing out on? So, 5:15, love y'all. Peace. Happy Jupiter Day. I hope that this expanded you far out. And please tell this story to someone else. Get the book, read it to someone else. Get the book and pass it to someone else. I do have signed copies available on my website if you want a signed copy. If not, you have to order it from Amazon. And we also have a children's book coming out, which I'm going to be telling the story as a poem, and working with a sisterin and her daughter. She's illustrating the book, which is going to be great for children to be able to see this and connect it with as well. So this is my work. This is a part of my work, at least. And I'm going to keep doing it with as much diligence as I can, and taking breaks in between too. So I love y'all. Peace. You're welcome very much, Rosemary. I'll see y'all soon.